It is a feel-good Friday here on Locked On Vols. The big game coming up later this weekend. Who are some former Vols who are really close to getting to the big game? Also, some former Vols who have played in the big game here in recent memory. We got that list. We'll get it to you. Plus, some baseball notes, some Super Bowl prop bets that we're going to have fun with today, and a Vanderbilt basketball preview for Saturday night. All that and more here on a Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into your final edition of Locked On Vols for this week. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Glad to have you guys hanging out with me here today. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen and for subscribing and watching on YouTube. Really appreciate the support there. So we're going to have fun today here on a Friday. No guests. We've been getting a lot of guests on the show the last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate everybody that's been willing to hop on and talk a little Tennessee with me, so that's fun. But we're going to talk some prop bets, look at the Super Bowl a little bit from a Tennessee angle, and then, of course, get you set for Tennessee hoots. But before we get into all that, I do want to make note, Tennessee baseball was picked by the SEC to finish fourth in the Eastern Division, despite winning the SEC East for the first time since 1997. It's picked to finish fourth behind Vanderbilt, Florida, and Georgia. So Vanderbilt, Florida, and Georgia getting the nod over Tennessee, who's pegged to finish fourth in the Eastern Division. This will be year number 5 for Tony Vitello. Right fielder Jordan Beck and center fielder Drew Gilbert were both named to the All-SEC preseason, a second team heading into the new year. And if you look at just the preseason accolades for some of these players, we'll start with Beck. He's already, like I just said, mentioned as a preseason second teamer by the SEC. He is an NCBWA preseason All-American second team, a collegiate baseball newspaper preseason All-American second team, and a Baseball American preseason All-American third team. Drew Gilbert, I mentioned the second team nod for the SEC preseason. Evan Russell, a collegiate baseball newspaper preseason All-American third team, and Blade Tidwell, who Tennessee's going to be without for quite some time. He picked up a couple of first-team preseason nods from Baseball America, the NCBWA and collegiate baseball newspaper, and a second-team nod from Perfect Game, all those being All-American. So Tennessee baseball will kick off its season this time next week, and of course, we'll bring some baseball guys on to preview that, and we'll cover it all right here on Locked On Vols. But I wanted to have some fun here by talking about some Tennessee players who have played in Super Bowls. Now, I think it's worth noting the last 2 years, this year included, Tennessee has not had any representation in the Super Bowl. However, this year, between the Bengals and the Rams, there are 2 VFLs who are a part of these squads who will be represented. Marin Hobby is the defensive line coach for the Bengals, and Jaquez McClendon is in the front office for the Rams. So those 2 guys are a part of the process, but are not obviously playing in this game. There were no VFLs that played in the Super Bowl last year between the Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This season, obviously, you had Trey Smith that was very, very close, a part of the Kansas City Chiefs, a rookie, so he would have played in it last year if he was already in the National Football League, but close bowing out to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. Juwan Jennings and Emmanuel Mosley, both of those guys very close as well, as San Francisco lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. So Tennessee almost had 3 players playing in this game, but close but no cigar. So nobody this year, nobody last year. The last Tennessee player to play in a Super Bowl was Emmanuel Mosley back in 2020 with the 49ers. Dustin Colquitt won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs in 2020, and then, of course, lost last season. Dustin Colquitt was a part of a team. A Tennessee player was a part of a team that played in a Super Bowl last year. Dustin Colquitt was with the 2021 Chiefs, where he bowed out. John Kelly was on the roster for the 2019 Rams, who made a Super Bowl appearance against the Patriots and came up short. Cordero Patterson won that game, of course, a member of the Patriots. That was back in 2019. Derek Barnett won a world title with the Eagles. That was the Nick Foles year, whenever Carson Wentz was having an MVP-like season, goes down, Nick Foles comes in, goes on the road, wins on those games, and Derek Barnett was a part of that team. Matt Sims is on the roster for the 2017 Falcons that, remember, that was the 28-3 game, right? Tony McDaniel was a part of the 2014 Seahawks that won a world title and a 2015 Seahawks that lost a Super Bowl title. Justin Coleman, I skipped over him. He won it with the 2017 Patriots. Malik Jackson was in the Super Bowls twice during this decade, 2014 and 2016 with the Broncos, winning in 2016, of course, with Peyton Manning. Britton Colquitt was also a part of those teams. Robert Ayers was a part of the 14 team. Paris Harrison was a part of the 49ers, who appeared in the Super Bowl back in 2013. The team that beat the 49ers that year, Morgan Cox, who, of course, a long snapper and all-pro, is recently with the Tennessee Titans, I do believe. He won a Super Bowl back in 2013 with the Baltimore Ravens. Gerard Mayo, who's one of the rising coaches across the NFL, one of the top position coaches, interviewed for a couple of head coaching jobs, and of course is a guy that's going to be a mainstay in the coaching ranks of the National Football League. He won the 2015 Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, lost in 2012. We just continue to work our way back here. I'm just going to read up some notables. Of course, our friend Ramon Foster, he played in the 2011 Super Bowl with the Steelers. That Super Bowl, I believe, is when they lost to Kurt Warner and the Cardinals, I think, if my memory serves me correct. Justin Harrell, Chad Clifton, they were part of the 2011 Packers, as was Scott Wells. Those 2010 Saints that won a world title, Jabari Greer, Robert Meacham, Marvin Mitchell. 2008 Patriots that came up short to the Giants, Rashad Moore, Dante Stallworth, and Kelly Washington. That team that beat the Patriots in 2008, Gerbill Wilson was a member of that team. Of course, Peyton Manning has played in the most Super Bowls here on this list for VFLs. 2007, won it with the Colts. 2010, lost it. 2014, lost it with the Broncos. 2016, his final year, won it with, of course, the Denver Broncos. So this list goes all the way back to Bill Anderson, former, of course, Tennessee color man, tied in with the 1967 Green Bay Packers, won a World Series title. Craig Colquitt won 2 with the Steelers in 79 and 80. You've got Brian Ingram, who was on a couple of teams in the Patriots in the mid-'80s that came up just short. Tim McGee, the 89 Bengals. Bill Bates won 3 with the Cowboys in the 90s in 93, 94, and 96. It's a fun list to look at because Tennessee is always very active in the National Football League, despite, being kind of in a lull the last decade plus in terms of production here in Knoxville. Still a lot of players going to the NFL, still a lot of players producing in the National Football League and making it to the grand stage, which is obviously the Super Bowl. So will there be VFLs in the Super Bowl next year? Well, a lot of that depends on the draft this upcoming year, but Trey Smith with the Kansas City Chiefs, he is positioned to be in a good spot to potentially go to many Super Bowls from here on out. Of course, Juwan Jennings and Emmanuel Mosley, who's already participated in a couple Super Bowls, and Juwan Jennings, who has yet to. I mean, that's a team that's going to make some noise from here on out, likely, especially if they decide to go with Trey Lance, in my opinion, moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. So kind of fun to take note and kind of track this time of the year. Where are the Vols in the current playoff push? Are there any Vols in the Super Bowl coming up? None this year. Unfortunate, but hopefully that will change this time next year. We will have fun talking some prop bets from BetOnline when we return here on Locked On Vols. But first, I do want to remind you about BetOnline. It's got you covered this season with more props, more odds than lines than ever before. This football continues its march to the playoffs. The big game just 2 days away, everybody. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just football either. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute information on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for all year long here in 2022. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. It is Super Week, brought to you by GetUpside, and there's no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On Bengals and Locked On Rams, all three of those podcasts, they are live from Radio Row in Los Angeles all week long, covering the big game. Today, tomorrow, before the Super Bowl on Sunday, go give those podcasts a listen. Great coverage all week long, previewing what will be Super Bowl 56. Welcome back into Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me here today as we finish off the work week. I want to preview some things I want to start in the next week or two. I want to start getting into off-season reports. Let's take a look at everybody around the SEC. Who have they lost? Who have they added? Any major coaching changes? This is really spurred on by what's happening at Auburn right now. And as Auburn continues to try to find a way to fire Ryan Harsin for cause. So going to get into that a little bit. Off-season report around the SEC as we inch ever so closely to a spring practice beginning. All right, this segment's not necessarily Vol related, but I wanted to have a little fun here because one of my favorite things to do, of course, I love betting at Bet Online and having fun there. But outside of just the normal games, I love prop bets, player props, individual game props, who will have their first reception in the game, who is the first touchdown scorer in the game, all that type of stuff. But what's always fun this time of the year with the Super Bowl coming up is these just weird and obnoxious prop bets that have nothing to do with the game. So I'm going to read off a couple and give you kind of where these odds are, in most of your books. One of the most popular ones would be the singing of the national anthem. Now, the national anthem, it is going to be Mickey Guyton is singing the national anthem, I do believe. Maybe I'm off there, but the over and under is set at 95 seconds. 95 seconds. The juice minus 120 on both. So if you finish before 95 seconds and you bet on that side, you win. If you finish over 95 seconds and you bet on that, then you win there. I don't like betting on the national anthem because you just never know. I mean, maybe you can be nervous and speed things up. Maybe you'll have, difficulty hearing yourself whenever you're singing that cause. I mean, any little thing can change the duration of singing the national anthem. Also, if you want to belt out that last syllable and brave and just hold it for just a couple of seconds just to screw with people, I don't like that whatsoever. Of course, the coin toss is one of the more popular ones. Got a 50-50 chance, right? Heads or tails. So that's one that a lot of people like to get on. The halftime show. Did you guys know that there's a football game going on during this halftime show concert on Sunday night? Yeah, so Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Eminem. It's been getting a whole lot of talk throughout the week, really the last couple of weeks, as we head on to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Here's one about who's going to perform first. Right at plus 170, Mary J. Blige. Plus 255, you have Kendrick Lamar. Plus 355, Snoop Dogg. Plus 505, Dr. Dre. Plus 595 is going to be Eminem. I don't think it's going to be Kendrick Lamar because you got to save him to come out and do Tupac's part, right? And so I wouldn't think he would be first. I would think it would probably be Blige, maybe Dr. Dre. I don't know. We'll have to see. But those are some of the who's going to sing first in the halftime of the Super Bowl concert. That's one that is very, very popular right now. Plus, because it's all reminiscent of 40-year-olds that are going to be getting down while their kids are watching the Super Bowl halftime show with them. One of the more famous ones would be the Gatorade bath, for the winning coach. Orange is sitting at plus 200. None, meaning it would be either water, it'd be clear, is at plus 300. Blue is at plus 400. Not seeing red on here. That's very surprising. Red is usually a very popular pick at this point in time. Some other ones. Will the game announcers reference the Super Bowl point spread? Which brand will air the first commercial? That's a very popular one. You don't think it's going to be Bud Light, right? You don't think it's going to be Budweiser. They hold those. Usually they'll hold Skittles. What about Doritos? Is it going to be a car manufacturer? Is it going to be Hyundai? Is it going to be Ford, Chevrolet? That's a really, really good one as well. Who will the Super Bowl MVP thank first? This is one of my favorite ones. God, right? You always thank God first, right? If it's not God, I saw one that had 12-1 odds about thanking their family. What about fans? What about the organization? Those are some that I'm paying attention to as well. You move on. I found a couple other ones that I really, really like. Will a player leave the game due to concussion symptoms and not return? Yes, at plus 120. No, at minus 150. This day and age, that's one that's probably going to be really, really popular. Will any scoring drive take less than the national anthem? I love this one because, again, football is a game of explosive plays. A lot of drives, you go to the house on play 2 or play 3 of the drive, or play 1 of the drive. Who knows? It just takes one play, one missed assignment by the defense, one broken tackle, getting to the edge and outrunning everybody. So will any scoring drive take less than the national anthem? Yes, at minus 240. or no at plus 175. So overwhelmingly, people do believe, yes, a scoring drive will happen in less than 95 seconds at that over-under right now. Will a non-quarterback throw a touchdown pass? Yes at plus 650, no at minus 1,400. I'm sure there's been more, but the only one that I can remember in recent memory was Antoine Randall with the Pittsburgh Steelers throwing that touchdown pass to Hines Ward. So I doubt that would even happen. How many times will the chains be used for measurements? The over-under set at 1.5. I think, and the juice is at 110 for the over, 120 minus 120 for the under. I think that is so easy. How many times do we watch a football game and we have to pause for measurement, right? We have to pause or they ask for a measurement. So according to this prop bet that I'm looking at right now, you're just asking for 2 measurements in a game. I think that is easy money, easy money. Will a kicker hit the crossbar or upright during a field goal or extra point? Yes at plus 330, no at minus 500. Yeah, I mean, there's some value there, but that usually doesn't happen. Of course, there have been some double doinks. The Drake curse. What team jersey will he be wearing? Bengals at plus 165, Rams at minus 220. Well, Drake is very good friends with Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. plays with the Rams. If he's wearing a jersey, I bet it would be the Rams, but maybe he's not wearing a jersey. Make sure to read the fine print of their prop bet, especially with this one. Make sure it's null and void if it's wearing like a hat or a chain or whatever. If it says jersey, it's got to be jersey. And again, I'm circling back around to this one. This one right here. What's the first song going to be performed at halftime? Lose Yourself plus 275. My Name Is plus 275. The Real Slim Shady at plus 350. Without Me at plus 500. Stan at plus 900, or any other song at plus 175. I think plus 175 is probably the way to go. You always like to play the field in certain situations like this. And then finally, again, I've already mentioned it once, but who does the Super Bowl MVP think first? It's got to be God. God's at 3-1 odds right now. The coach at 12-1 odds. The family at 12-1. I think family's great value there at 12-1 odds. The owner at 12-1. No one's going to think the owner first. Doesn't think anyone. No, someone's going to thank somebody for sure. Teammates also at 3-2 odds. So at value in that one, I like family at 12-1, but God is the easy one at 3-1. And then, of course, teammates at 3-2 has the second best odds. So love doing prop bets at this time of the year as we head into the big game. I'm going to be hanging out with them. I'm going to be taking part in some Super Bowl prop bets, and more than just the normal game. Any team scoring 40 plus points. Los Angeles Rams total field goals over under 1.5. Both teams to score over 19.5 points. But yes, it is minus 130 on that one at Bet Online, just so you know. Just stuff like that. You can do the individual player props and the game props inside your betting app. But I encourage you, if you're into sports gambling, find some unusually funny and entertaining prop bets to keep yourself entertained throughout what will be a 4.5-hour excursion Sunday night, because, of course, halftime will take forever. There's more commercials. This is the biggest event, sporting events of the entire year, every single year. Super Bowl 56 will be live from Los Angeles. All right. Having a little fun there. We'll get back into Vol conversation. We'll give you a preview for Tennessee and Vanderbilt when we return here on Locked On Vols. But it's that time of the year, and I've pretty much given up on my New Year's resolution. Have you? If you haven't, check out the Built Bars. It'll get you right. And it almost feels like you're not really having a resolution because you actually enjoy eating those if you're trying to lose or maintain weight. All right. Built Bar, debuting the new Puffs. If you haven't tried them, you're really missing out on one of the Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite as well. Some incredible flavors. Yummy, cinnamon, churro-y, coconut marshmallowy, cinnamon cream pie. So good. And these are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolates. Yes, the Puffs included. That's 100% real chocolate. So where can you find all these? Where can you find all these incredible Built Bars that sit somewhere around 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, but 17 grams of protein? You can find it all at built.com. Go to built.com, use that promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off. That's all at built.com. Last but not least, I promise we get to some Vols content here today. You know I couldn't go an entire show without giving you some real Vols, Tennessee Volunteer content. Tennessee basketball coming off a big-time win against Mississippi State on the road a couple of nights ago, and now we'll prepare for Vanderbilt, the second of the home and home with your arch rival Vanderbilt. It'll be at 6 o'clock inside Thompson-Boling Arena coming up tomorrow. So I'm Eric Kane here. A final segment left here on this week's edition of Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen and watching and subscribing on YouTube. So Vanderbilt's coming into the game. 13-10 is the record. 5-6 is the record in SEC play. Tennessee, of course, 19th ranked team in all the country. 17-6, 8-3 inside the SEC. Vanderbilt, it was a gritty type performance for Tennessee on the road a couple weeks ago. It was tied with about a minute left, and then Tennessee went on that 8-0 run to close out the basketball game. Remember, Uros had a couple points there. Zakai Ziegler had a key steal late in that ball game to give Tennessee another, to extend it to a 2-possession ball game, I do believe. But Tennessee's looking to make that season sweep of Vanderbilt here this year, following that 68-60 win a couple weeks ago inside Memorial Gym. During that game, though, Tennessee had 4 players scoring double figures. Santiago Vescovi led the way, 14 points. Chandler and Plavsic both had 13 points. Zakai Ziegler had 11 points after finishing 2 of 6 from the field. 0 of 8 from the field. Did not make a field goal in this game, but was 11 of 12 from the charity stripe was Zakai Ziegler. Tennessee shots on the game, 33% from the field, 21% from 3, and 86% from the charity stripe. Typically not a winning formula, but Tennessee was able to suffocate Vanderbilt defensively by allowing just 60 points for the Commodores and 36% shooting for Vanderbilt in that basketball game. You look at Vanderbilt's, they're coming into the contest. They've won their last 2 games, against LSU last Saturday, took down Missouri 70-62. On Tuesday, they won 3 of their last 4 games, going back to winning at Georgia 2 Saturdays ago with losing to Kentucky, a sandwich in between there last Wednesday night, 77-70. Adjusted offensive efficiency rating, Tennessee is 32nd in the country, scoring 112.2 points per 100 possessions. Vanderbilt is 114th in the country, scoring 105.5 points per 100 possessions. So adjusted offensive efficiency, Tennessee ranks 32nd. Vanderbilt ranks 114th. Adjusted defensive efficiency rankings, Tennessee 5th in the country, allowing 87.9 points per 100 possessions. Vanderbilt 53rd, allowing 95.6 points per 100 possessions. So adjusted defensive efficiency, Tennessee's 5th, Vanderbilt is 53rd. The latest net rankings have Tennessee pitted at 10th in the country against quad 1 teams. 4-6 is the record. Of course, all 6 losses for the University of Tennessee have come against quad 1 teams. You have Vanderbilt ranking 82nd in the latest net rankings. And against quad 1 teams, Vanderbilt is 3-6. Of course, Vanderbilt does have 10 losses on the season overall, 6 of those coming from quad 1 teams. And Tennessee's moved up in this latest ranking. It's the ESPN Strength of Schedule ranking. Tennessee is second behind Alabama in the country. Second, Vanderbilt is 44th. Again, that's the ESPN Strength of Schedule ranking. Tennessee is second. Vanderbilt is 44th. You want to win against Vanderbilt? Well, of course, you've got to stop Scottie Pippen Jr., okay? You scored his 1,000th career point all the way back in December against Austin Peay. He had 19 points against Tennessee the first time they met. Scottie Pippen, he is second in the SEC, I believe. I just had this note. I don't know where it went. I do apologize. Don't know where it went, but Scottie Pippen Jr., he ranks 3rd in the SEC with about 18 points per game this season. He's incredible. Of course, it's in the bloodline, right? You know who his father is, and Scottie Pippen Jr., one of the best in the country to do it for, and of course, coming from Vanderbilt. So far in this series, Vanderbilt 75-127 all time against Tennessee. So let me flip that. Tennessee is 127-75 all time against Vanderbilt. The Vols have won 9 in a row in this series. Under Jerry Stackhouse, Vanderbilt's just 0-5, hasn't won a game against Tennessee. Vanderbilt's last win over Tennessee, it was 67-56 back in February of 2017, and that game did happen in Knoxville. Back in the 2022 matchup, again, earlier this year, score again was tied at 60-60 with a minute left, and then Tennessee was able to rattle off 8 points. Scottie Pippen Jr. had 18 points in that loss. Here we go. Pippen nationally. All right. He's the second leading scorer among SEC student athletes at 18.7 points per game. That's I was trying to hunt down. All right. So he's second in scoring in the SEC. Pippen nationally. Free throws attempted, 167 this year. That ranks fifth. Points per game, 18.7. That ranks 51st. Free throws made, 120. That ranks 8th in the country, and fouls drawn per 40 minutes, 7.4, and that ranks 6th in the country. So, again, Vanderbilt's playing a little bit better right now, coming off a win against Missouri earlier this week, and every player, let's see here. All 5 starters scored in double figures earlier this week as Vanderbilt earned that win over Missouri and Nashville. Jordan Wright had 11 points and 11 rebounds as well. Quentin Malora-Brown had 10 points and 11 rebounds. Both of those guys obviously had double-doubles, and Scottie Pippen Jr. had 19 points. So there's no love lost between these two squads. Doesn't matter what type of year Vanderbilt's having. I think they're playing improved basketball under Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, that was evident the first time Tennessee played them this season. And these two teams, they don't much like each other. And of course, when you have a guy like Scottie Pippen Jr., it's easy to like your chances in any ball game, right? But ESPN, the matchup predictor, gives Tennessee a 93.1% chance of winning this basketball game. Jordan Wright, we mentioned everything about Scottie Pippen, 18.7 points per game. Jordan Wright, 6.3 rebounds per game, leads that team. And of course, Scottie Pippen Jr. also just shy of 4 assists per game, coming in at 3.7. He leads Vanderbilt in that one. Points per game, Tennessee scores 74 points. Vanderbilt scores 69. Points allowed, Tennessee allows 63 points. Vanderbilt allows 65. Tennessee shoots at 43.9% from the field, and that's gone up drastically the last couple of games, where Vanderbilt shoots 41.7%. Rebounds per game, Tennessee brings in 36 boards a game, Vanderbilt 34. Assists, Tennessee divvies out 16 assists a game, 16 helpers, Vanderbilt only 11. Blocks per game, Tennessee has the edge there as well, 4-3. Steals per game, Tennessee getting just a little over 10 per game, Vanderbilt a little over 7. And of course, Tennessee has won 3 of its last 5, or Vanderbilt's won 3 of its last 5. Tennessee has won 4 of its last 5 in its last 6 SEC games, looking to make it 10 in a row over Vanderbilt and 7 straight in the SEC. That game is coming up at 6 o'clock inside Thompson-Boling Arena Saturday night. At the time of this recording, there is no line put out right now, but I'll expect Tennessee to be somewhere around a 6 to 7 point favorite at home against the Commodores. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Hope you enjoyed it. Had a little fun talking some prop bets, talking some VFLs and the Super Bowl in recent memories as the big game comes up this weekend. We'll recap all that was Tennessee and Vanderbilt on Monday. We'll get into our off-season reports, looking around at some football programs around the SEC, and of course, continual recruiting, roster management news, all that for your Tennessee football team. Guys, thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen every single day. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Go search Locked On Vols on YouTube. Subscribe to the show. Support the show there. It means more to me than you will ever know. Trust me. Thank you so much for those that have already done it. And check out Locked On Bets. Perfect time to check out Locked On Bets again with the big game coming up this weekend. Your boy Q, handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Locked On Bets. Make that your second listen behind Locked On Vols. Guys, had fun today. Hope you did as well. Have a great weekend, and we will talk again on Monday, everybody.